To the Fiber Tales podcast. My name is Helga and I'm coming to you from Uist, Denmark. And it's finally starting to look a bit like spring. Well, a little bit, a tiny bit. It's better than we've had some crazy weather the last week since I last saw you. And I don't know what to say. Easter was funny. We had snow on Thursday and quite a lot of snow, and then it all melted within the same day. And then again on Sunday, I don't think it happened everywhere in Denmark because it seems like it was quite regional to the southern part of Denmark where my parents live, and we had 20 centimeters of snow on Sunday, and then it all melted again. But I'm a big lover of snow, and I just think once we're in April, I'm really over it, and I really want spring to come along. So I brought a bit of spring in here. I bought this beautiful plant. I don't know the name in English. In Danish, it's called vibeæg, because the flowers look like the eggs of a small bird, which is called vibe, which I don't know. I can put it here. Actually, it's funny because my name, Lærke, it's a bird's name as well. So Lærke means lark, and Vibe is another girl's name in Danish. And those two names actually came from the same, I think he was a poet or a writer, who named his two girls Lærke and Vibe. So I think it's quite funny that they're both birds' names, but can also be used for girls. And yeah, I have little vibeæg here, and I think it's such a pretty plant, and the color is wonderful. So what to talk about today? I have some finished objects. It has been a little longer since I last recorded than what I wanted to, because it's been Easter and my boyfriend has been away for a festival. He plays music, so he's been away for a music festival in Spain. I didn't go with him. I could have taken my daughter and come, but I didn't really feel like, because of the loud music and so on. And so I stayed home with here, and then we went to visit my parents. And because I don't feel in the right space to record when she's home. I know a lot of people manage to do it. I just don't. So I just been having Easter holiday and not really worrying about recording or doing anything else. She was great. It was very nice. And it was nice visiting my parents. I'm not really a religious person, or I'm not a religious person at all, which means we celebrate Easter, but it's not really important to me. In the way, I think Easter generally is not that important in Denmark. People thing to know about Danish people is we're not really a very religious people, as in general. Of course, they're different. Everybody's different, but in general, as a country, we are not that religious. We are Protestants, and people generally don't go to church only for Christmas, when then the small countryside churches will be so full with people And for the rest of the year, they're pretty much empty. Yeah, so Easter, for some reason, it doesn't really have the same importance for us as Christmas. I think it has something to do with, let's say, the pagan traditions that were there before Christmas was a big celebration. Easter was never really a big celebration in the same way. So people will get together and have eat lamb. I mean, in my family we eat lamb all year because of the sheep. But generally people will get together and eat lamb. We have a hair somewhere. And eat lamb and find eggs. And we do have one tradition, I think it's very nice. I don't have an example here, but we do this little paper cuts that are called gækkebrev, which are letters that you cut out like a pattern. I will try to insert a picture here of what they can look like. And you insert, like you write a letter to someone and you put your name in dots and they will have to guess. Now it's mainly children who do this, but back in time it was, for example, lovers who would send letters to the ones they liked and so on. And if you don't guess who sent you the letter, you will have to give them an egg. Now it's generally a chocolate egg. Yeah, so there are some traditions for Easter, but it's more quiet and not so celebrated. But we have the days off, so yeah, I went to see my parents on Saturday and until Sunday, and we had an Easter lunch and dinner, and so it was very nice, but nothing really, not the same kind of vibe as for Christmas, let's say. So, did I say what I wanted to talk about? I have some finished objects. I have, well, one finished object, one half finished object, and let me just check. And I wanted to talk about this one, of course. This sweater I'm wearing today is my just published pattern, Skovmærker, which is, yeah, I will talk more about it in the end. And I also wanted to talk about yarn choices. So I wanted to do a little chat about that at the end of this episode. So let's move on to my finished object. It didn't take that long. It's actually lying just over here. It hasn't been blocked. I still haven't blocked it because my daughter wants to wear it all the time, and yeah, I didn't want to block it before this episode so it would be wet. So it's just a little, the only thing is it's a little wonky on the neckline, so you will see it flips back. I think that would smooth out with blocking, and it's a little wrinkled, but here you go. She wore it for Easter when we went to see my parents, and everybody thought it was so sweet. It's let me just put it back here. Here you can see it. It's the size 2 to 3 years old, I think. She's 2.5, a little more than 2.5. So I thought, but she's not that big, at least for Danish standards, she's not that big. And it fits her really well. There's still some room to grow in it. I think she can use it until fall, unless she starts growing really crazily, which happens sometimes with kids. So yeah, so this one is still flipping a little back, this ribbing. I pretty much made it as the pattern calls for. The pattern is Rimor's, Rimor's summer blouse or summer top, I think it's called in English, by Petit Knits. It's worked bottom up and yeah, has a raglan construction. Is fairly simple. The only thing you have to keep an eye on are these. And then I had a little bit of trouble on the top, but I will talk about that. So the few modifications I did is I made the ribbing longer, which I didn't do on purpose. At first I cast this on while I was in Edinburgh, and I was of course not paying too much attention to the pattern, and it said knit ribbing for 5 rounds, and I read 5 centimeters, and I think when I got to this one is 3, and when I reached 3 centimeters, I was like, this one is getting really long, and then I looked at the pattern and I realized my mistake. But I like it. I actually like it longer, and it doesn't tend to roll over itself. So I did also, the pattern doesn't call for a twisted rib, so I did a twisted rib just because I thought it would look nice. I did these are the length they're supposed to be. And the same with this one. I think I added another, I made it the same as the sleeves, and they're supposed to be shorter, I think, like shorter by 1 or 2 rounds. Yeah, and the eyelets as supposed to be, they look a little, they sit a little bit different. It's not really specified how long you should continue the pattern out, like how close you should go, and it's something I'm always, I don't know if I want to say struggling with, but I'm always a bit insecure, or not insecure, how you say, I always have to think, like, what should I do? Should I continue it? You see here, I just did them half, did the pattern half until I reached, because I didn't want the big gap between this one and that one. So it's the same on the back, and on the front there's a little more space, but they were a little different in the pattern. And actually this was supposed to be the back, but once I realized that I preferred this look to that one, I just changed it around. So I switched the sides. This sweater is knit the same all the way up until here, and then you have to decide, of course you don't have to decide, then I decided to switch it around. But what you do is you do some short row shaping to make the neckline, and that's the only part I was not so, I think the pattern could have been a bit clearer on how to deal with the eyelets in the short rows, and I don't know, for some reason doing raglan and eyelets and short rows at the same time, it's not impossible, but it just required a little bit more of more thinking, and there was no help in the pattern. It just said to do it, and that's it. Yeah, so I did it once, and then I realized I didn't like it, and since this is a very small project, it's not a big deal, so I just ripped back and did it again. You see, I just made one little eyelet here. I could of course not have done that, and the same on the back. So again, how much to continue on the pattern or stop the pattern while you're doing it. I was thinking about doing long sleeves, but I decided not to do long sleeves simply because it was top up, and then I would have to think. And of course, it shouldn't be a problem for me to think. I'm designing my own patterns, and I know how to construct. The thing is just when I'm knitting, I realize now when I'm knitting someone else's patterns, I really don't want to think. I'm not saying in the way that they have to spoon feed me everything, but I would wish, if I'm knitting someone else's patterns, I just really want to not think. So I will pick up a written pattern from someone else when I just feel like TV knitting. So I guess that's why it bothered me a bit. It probably wouldn't have bothered me if I was not trying to spend so much time designing and thinking about my knitting. Yeah, so it's just I don't know if it's a designer's problem, but for me that's how it is. That's one little critique, but for the rest the pattern is quite easy, and I mean, you just have to try the short rows, and if you see they don't look nice for one reason or another, then you can rip them back. It's not that time consuming. So this was a very quick knit. I think I finished it in less than a week. It says on my Ravelry page. I don't remember completely, but oh yes, and I talked already about it in the other episodes, but this is the yarn. It's a DK weight yarn. The color is, yeah, maybe now it went a little cooler. It is a very interesting yarn. It's by John Arbon. I got it when I was at Edinburgh Yarn Festival. It's DK weight. Let me just see, I have the tag here. And this one is called Knit by Numbers. So this particular yarn, they have different yarns. It's knit by numbers, and this color is called 120, so KBN 120. Yeah, and it's 100% Falkland Merino, and it's organic, which makes me very happy. Yeah, everything organic is very close to my heart. I grew up on an organic farm. My parents spent pretty much their whole life very involved in making organic products available, like widely available, and they are now in Denmark. You will see if you go to a Danish supermarket, there's so many organic products and they are on the same level as everything else. I remember when I was a child, like 20 years ago, organic products were different and not that nice. They were more like health products, and now they are more like normal products that everyone wants to eat. Not saying there's anything wrong with health products, but as a child you're not really interested in having you want to have what all the other children are having, and if you cannot get the Nutella that looks like Nutella but looks like some grey weird substance, then you don't really feel like eating it. So anyway, long rant, it was just to say that I'm very pro organic farming, and that also applies to wool, so I'm very happy this is organic and it's a non-superwash wool. So yeah, all good things to say. One thing I'm a little interested to see is if it will peel a lot. I can already see that it gets a little bit fluffy, and the yarn has a feeling that makes me think that it might, but let's see. It's a small project, and I have, as you can see, quite a lot left. I don't know what I will make with this. We will see, maybe a hat sometime, like a small for my daughter or something. Oh yeah, and today I'm drinking, as you will have seen in the intro, the Mirabella, still don't know what else to call it, tea that I got when I was in Poland. It's an organic tea made with different, Polish. I don't think there's tea in there, but it's like a herbal infusion. No, how you call herbal tea? Yeah. It's very nice and red. So my half-finished object for this week is the sock that I am knitting as a present for my daughter's daycare daddy. I explained that a little bit more in the episode when I first introduced these, and I don't remember which one, but it's just a sock, and I think I hit the right size. We have been looking at his shoes when we were picking up my daughter, and so I just put in the toe. Nothing too crazy. It has a 2x2 rib. It has a slip stitch heel cuff, and heel flap and gusset. Heel flap and gusset, and it's knit in a yarn from Garnussel, which is called Oline's sock. It's a wool yarn with polyamide, I think. It was very cheap. I don't really have, I'm not gonna repurchase it. It was on sale and I just bought a few skeins. I showed them also in another episode. The yarn is here, so you can see this is the yarn. And I just started the second cuff. I have to take a look if I'm almost there. I think it should be, it's more or less on the, I just need a few more rows. And I'm just gonna copy this sock. I cast on 68 stitches. I don't have so much more to say about these. They have to be finished by June because my daughter finishes her daycare time, and then she will move into kindergarten. So I have to have them finished to gift them for the daycare daddy when we get to June. Okay, yep, so that was my half-finished object. I'm really not in a hurry with those. They're not that interesting, but I use them whenever I have time. I just want something easy to knit on and don't want to think too much, so they're good for that. And I've been knitting on the Daffodil cardigan. I have it in my little project bag. It's been a little bit of an on-off whip. I cast on for the front panel when I went to Edinburgh, because yeah, I just felt like having this for the train ride there and the plane, and I just did a little bit of the cuff, and I just finished this during Easter. I brought it with me to see my parents, so I knew I wouldn't have anything else to knit on, and it's really hard to see because it's how you say, it's in pieces. So I have already knitted one sleeve, I have the back piece, and this is the front piece, one of the two front pieces. So here you see the armhole, and it has a V-neck shaping. There you go. I don't know if I was supposed to start another line of eyelets here, which, I mean, according to the pattern I was, but it was really difficult to start the eyelets and increase at the same time, so I just decided not to. And yeah, it's this cardigan is the Daffodil, as I already said. It's by Helga Isager, and I'm knitting it in another yarn from Garnet, which looks so pretty together with the V-bag. This is a recycled wool that they also had on sale, so I bought 300 grams, I think. I don't think I will use it all. It's really not, yeah. And it's in the aubergine color. The funny thing is, as I mentioned before, this color is actually pretty much a black with little red specks, which I'm not so crazy about. But once you just take it a little bit away, like you're not studying it, it looks aubergine, and it's a color I really love, the color aubergine, or like a dark purple plummy color. So yeah, this is the rolled up, not so nice looking front panel, and I can just show you the back, what it looks like. I already showed this before, but just in case there are any new viewers, and if you're a new viewer, you're very welcome. Oh, there's a lot of V's and W's. We don't have W's in Denmark, in Danish, and sometimes they are a bit of a tongue twister. So there you go. This is the back piece. Here you can see the pattern. It's so beautiful, going into these V shapes, and in the front, of course, the V's will continue, but on the two different sides. So yeah, I'm very happy to have this finished, but at the same time, I'm not very happy because it's not finished. I'm very excited to finish this, but at the same time, it's a project that I don't know, I keep picking it up and then letting it be. So that was Daffodil. I think I will have to cast on the other half soon, so I kind of have that part over. It's in the pattern, they actually ask you're supposed to use 3 different needle sizes, just one for the 3 first rows, which is size 2.5, I think, then 3, and then 3.5. 3 for the ribbing and 3.5. And I didn't do that for the front panel because I didn't bring that to Edinburgh with me, and I think I will, do the same for the other front. It's just a few rows. I can't be bothered. It gets too much if I have to go that much into detail. So, what else have I been working on? I've been working on some new designs, which are a little bit secret because I don't want to reveal everything about my design process. And I mean, on one hand, I really want to, and I'm really torn about this. I want to share everything, and I really want to show what I'm doing, but on the other hand, I don't want to give everything away, and it's a lot of work. It's really a lot of work designing, and there's not much info about how to do it freely available, so it's kind of a struggle that you go through to figure out how to do everything, and then just giving it away seems, I don't know, I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about this. Hannah-Lisa Hafferkamp, who has a podcast called Hannah on the Road, she talked about this. She actually she started designing, and she's doing a video about this, and she decided to be completely open. And also Jorge Locatelli, who is a very famous knitwear designer. I don't know what I'm trying to say. She has also a podcast or a journal that she's doing, and she also talked about this, how she really wants to share her progress, but it's not, and that many people are not sharing. I want to share some parts, but not everything, and I hope that's okay. I hope you understand. And maybe later on I will change my mind about this, or I mean, I'm still in the beginning of this designing process, so yeah, bear with me. But the thing I have been knitting on, I won't show you all the details, but I can show you a little bit. I can show you a sneak peek. Is this little sleeve, and without showing too much off, I'm holding my hands in strategic places. This is the beginning of a sleeve, which I am knitting up in this beautiful yarn, which is called Lino Muka, I suppose. It's a yarn from Lithuania. It's linen, and I got it from Woolen Berlin in the fall, I think, because I was already thinking about this design back then. And what more do I want to say? I'm holding a double. It's a bit of an experience to work with linen yarn. I never worked with linen yarn before, and it is quite hard on my hands, I feel. So actually I was knitting on it like crazy, and now I just had to let it rest for a bit. So I have to be careful it's not gonna... I want it to be done for summer, so actually I'm a bit in a hurry. The other problem I've had with this design is that I don't feel like knitting in linen when it's cold, and this winter has been dragging on, and for the first months of winter it wasn't really cold, and now it's been snowing and snowing and snowing, and we're in April now and it's still terrible winter weather. So I haven't been feeling like knitting on this particular design. So that's, yeah, it's a bit of a struggle because I really want to have it ready for the warmer months. So, design struggles. What more do I want to say? Not so much more, but that's also something I've been working on. I can show you up close how it knits up. This hasn't been blocked or anything, and this is with the yarn held double. It's a beautiful golden color. I think the color is amazing. I think the yarn the fabric will be amazing once I'm done. It's just the process of knitting, because the linen doesn't really have any give. I find it a little bit hard on my fingers. So that's one project I've been working on that I hope will be ready for spring. But as it sometimes happens, then you get another idea, and then you feel like casting that on, and yeah, I cast on something else, which again is a design idea. So I don't want to show you too much, but I have been showing little glimpses of the swatch on Instagram. By the way, if you want to, I've been hearing people would like to see more clips from my everyday and stuff, and if you want to see that, Instagram is the place. I share little clips in my stories, or when I go out, or when I'm knitting. So if you feel like seeing more of what I'm doing, I mean, I'm not showing everything and I'm not every day, but some days when I'm in the mood, I share what I'm doing. And then, yeah, I'm just wanted to say you can follow my Instagram account, which is Fibertales. I'm Fibertales everywhere. So, when I was in Edinburgh, I got this yarn, which is the... yeah, I'm sorry, it's a bit all over the place, but I was talking about a new project that I'm starting, and I got this yarn that is the Canach. I still don't know how I'm supposed to say the CH. It means lemongrass, from what I says here lemongrass. And it is a yarn I got from Uist wool. They had a beautiful booth at Edinburgh Yarn Festival. They are a yarn company from the I've been thinking in my head how I was supposed to say it. I've been told by some people how to say it. Hebrides. That's my Hebrides. Does it say anywhere? Here you go. The outer Hebrides. So much fun. It's nice when people write me how to say it, but I still haven't heard it pronounced. So, and then I'm trying now for the first time out loud to say it. I'm not really talking to myself generally. Right now I'm talking to myself. It feels a bit like. Anyway, it's a beautiful yarn. It's what did I want to say? It's a Scottish merino yarn. It's I would say it has a really tight. It's spun pretty tightly, so it has a high twist. And normally it's not a type of yarn I go for, but this yarn is so beautiful. I think this colorway was the glass colorway, and it's sold out. I just checked on the website. Unfortunately, it's already sold out. It's a very pretty color. So all that to say, I had an idea for design. I can show you the swatch again. I'm holding my hands over a few details. Once I blocked it, it just blocked it. I washed it and laid it flat to dry, so I haven't blocked it in the, like, spread it out. It's a very beautiful fabric, and it's so soft. It's so incredible soft. I'm really in love with this one. As you can see, I did some broken rib, I think it's called, on the bottom, which is gonna be a part of this idea I have. I can tell you as much as it's gonna become a cardigan. I actually really wanted to design a cardigan for quite some time, because I generally tend to prefer wearing cardigans. At least it fits better for the climate we have. They're easy to take on and off. Generally in Denmark it's cold outside and warmer in the houses, and so it's nice to have garments that you can easily open up to get rid of some of the heat when you get in. I bike a lot, so again I need to be able to, how you call it, cool down a little bit. But so far I've been designing only sweaters. For some reason I tend to imagine sweaters, but I prefer wearing cardigans. So this is gonna be a cardigan. I already have it planned out, and I already knit. I can show you a little bit. I knit this much, so I've already knit this much. That's all you're gonna see. It's gonna be a quite simple cardigan. Here's the yarn ball, and I think it's gonna be, I have figured out everything how I wanted it to look, and now it's just about knitting it. And I'm so impatient. I'm incredibly impatient knitting up this sweater, because I think it will be, I really want to see if it's gonna turn out as I imagined and as I hope. So that's the yarn. So as you see, I have a lot of little projects beginning and not so much to show. And I think that's all for the knitting content of this week's episode. I will talk about this sweater, but for the things I'm making, I wanted to talk about something I got in the mail yesterday. If you watch Kristen of the Yarngasm podcast, you will have seen this one. I love how everything just works with my flowers in the back. And this is a book by an Icelandic girl called Audur. I hope I said it right. At least I know that the D with the little line on top is a the, like in English, more or less. Icelandic is quite a hard language, I know, so probably not completely right. But I had seen people getting this one from Edinburgh, and so when I saw her posting about it on Instagram, I just commented that not that I wanted the book in that way, but that it's a book I really want to get for my birthday. And she was so sweet to contact me and ask me if she could send a copy, and I am incredibly happy to have this. I really want to get better at understanding yoke sweaters. I have designed my previous sweater and this one are both round yoke sweaters, and the problem is it gave me a lot of headaches with the pattern, fitting the patterns and the increases, the decreases, because I did top down. So I wanted to have a better understanding of that, and plus I really want to make some nice lopapesa sweaters, so I am extremely happy to have gotten this book. It's a very nice, it's more like how would you say, it's not a book, it's more like an instruction, like a one big pattern for different sizes and different patterns, and she has some introduction and history behind. I think she could have included more history. I would have loved to have read more history and seen like old pictures of old lopapesas and stuff, so that's a little idea, to have had a little more history introduction section. I would have loved that. And it has 2 parts. One part that shows for children's sweaters, so I think I will make one for my daughter just to try it out. Oh, sorry, I have my camera on the table, and if I hit the table everything is gonna shake. So let me just show you a little bit. I'm just trying to find, where was it? It's in the beginning. So you can have a little picture. This is Audur. Every time I say something that I'm not sure of, I feel very self-conscious. For example, she has a worksheet in the beginning where you can plug in all your information. I think that's great. She has some schematics and some stuff about getting fit right, and then she has all these little color charts that you can pick from. So just with, actually they're not color charts, the colors are the missing stitches, so like where you increase or decrease depending on which way you go, if you go up and down. So you can pick from these different patterns, and then there's a bit here about Letlopi, or the colors of Letlopi, so you can look at those. I think it's great. It's a very nice help to make the pattern, so I'm really excited about making one for my daughter, I think, but I won't be making it now. I think it will be for the fall, because it's gonna be a really warm sweater if I use Letlopi, and although we have pretty cold summers, I think a Letlopi is probably too much. I might change my mind. Let's see. I just got it yesterday. I haven't looked through it completely, but I just wanted to mention it for this podcast because it's I'm really excited about it, and I thought it was so sweet of Audur to send this to me. You're gonna be laughing if I'm saying your name wrong. I'm sorry. I hope it was right. Yes, and I didn't say the whole name because that's getting even more crazy. On to the last bit of this podcast, which is about my new sweater design. So let me just show it off a little bit better. I've been showing it off a bit on the podcast. I rolled up the sleeves. But now I think it's time to completely show it off. It has a 2x2 ribbed cuff with a little bit of, garter stitch. That is the same on the bottom edge as well. You can see, and on the neckline up here, it has little popcorn stitches, which in the pattern I give my instructions, but a few of my testers, depending on the yarn they use, they experienced different that you can get little holes and stuff. So I also gave a link to another popcorn instruction. There are so many popcorn instructions how to do the stitch that if one doesn't work, then try another one. That's my the only thing is the size of the popcorn that might vary, and so I put this one in that has it's a smaller popcorn. I think it's nice. Then it has a little bit of a texture pattern around, and this is the part I'm, let's say, most proud about or most excited about, and that is the main. I'm really excited about it because I had this idea to make, here you can see them, these little leaves. Do you see them? Like a stem with little leaves. And so I actually invented this part myself. It's a combination of different stitches that I put together to make this delicate pattern. It's the line that goes around, it's a vertical stitches, or you can lateral braid, I think it is, or sometimes even Estonian braid. And then the leaves were the one that cost me a bit of, I had to think, and I tried out different things, but I think I found a really nice solution. They're like some kind of, not drop stitches, but that you go into the work below. Anyway, with the pattern there is a video tutorial that I did to show, because it can be hard to explain, and for example in the chat it looks a bit crazy, and then once I can explain it a little bit better, it's quite simple. But yeah, so that comes with the pattern, so I won't give too much away about that. And then another row of popcorn, and it has another textured pattern down here, and that's it. And the whole idea, it's a bit boxy, you can see, and quite fitted sleeves. I did the sleeves a little longer. Now I rolled them up again because it's warm in here. I did the sleeves a little bit longer in the pattern than what I did for this sample, just because I realized I thought they were a bit too short. I'm still thinking to open up and reknit the cuff, add a few centimeters and reknit the cuff, but let's see if I ever get that done. Yes, so I will go back to when I first got the idea for this pattern, and that was actually when I was in Portugal. I was in Lisbon in November last year, and I went to the Retrosaria shop, which is a beautiful shop that you definitely should visit sometime, even just go to Lisbon to visit the shop. It's owned by Rosa Pomar, who is also the maker. She has her own yarn in the shop and also other yarns. And this is one of her yarns. It's called Soft Donegal. It doesn't say on the front, it says here, Soft Donegal. It's 100% wool. It's from, so most of the wool is Portuguese, and this one is from, it's from Ireland. So it's a tweedy yarn, and it has, it's quite interesting because it's a single ply, and as I've shown in previous episodes, it puffs up quite a bit when you wash it. So it kind of fills out little gaps. That's also why I didn't experience any holes and stuff. So again, depending on the yarn you use, you might have to choose a different technique for the popcorn if you experience that it's creating little holes. It's a beautiful yarn. I fell in love with this. Actually, I wanted to get another color first, but they didn't have it. And then I decided to go for this. So I got this yarn, and in the evening I found Lisbon very inspiring, and at night when I was trying to fall asleep, I just had all these ideas, and actually I had to get out of bed to sketch something, and I can show you the sketch because it's pretty much how it turned out. So here you go, this is the sketch, this was my idea, and this is, I'm pretty impressed that the sketch actually worked. The idea was to make a sweater that had the same feel as a colorwork sweater in a way, but just with texture. So like a different pattern going around the yoke, different sections, but very subtle, very simple. And something you could wear every day, but still with a bit of interest. So like a little bit like a like a no frills sweater. I was gonna say like a very simple sweater, but with some interest. So I been working on this idea and this project ever since. When I came back from Lisbon, I was working on my previous design, my Rødtur sweater, so that took some time, and then finally I've been getting this one ready. So when I started working with this yarn, the color, this deep green color and this leaf design that I had the idea for, it kept making me think of this little plant that's called Skovmærker, and that is, or Skovmærke in singular, Skovmærker is plural, and because they have this little lush green leaves, and they are beautiful plant in the way that they look like a small simple plant in the ground, in the bottom of the forest, like on the ground. They have little white flowers, but generally it's the green leaves that you see. But when you pick them, they have the most amazing smell. In English, they're called sweet scented bedstraw. And I just love, my mom would always pick them. I started picking them, pick little bouquets, and you hang them up to dry. And in the winter, if they get a little humid, the smell just pops out on you again. And they're just the best thing. It's like dried lavender. They have this sweet but still herbal, fresh scent, and I love them. So that grew into the design and became part of this inspiration of this very green, lush, like the beginning of spring into summer kind of green you have in the forest. I absolutely love this color and this little leaf detail. So that was a bit about the inspiration, also why I named it Skovmærker. I know it's a bit difficult to say for anyone not Danish, I think, but it was just so strong with me, this inspiration, that I really wanted to have the name. So I'm sorry for everyone trying to pronounce it. Both Lindsay from A Wooden Nest, she talked about this because she tested it for me, a beautiful burgundy version. You can see it in her latest podcast episode. Or was it the one before? I think it's the one before, sorry, but you will see it's on the one of the latest episodes. And she had some trouble, and the same with Amber from A Lovely Yarn, I think it is. Oh, sorry, Amber. If not, I will put it here. But A Lovely Yarn, she also, actually she's, she also knit this, was a test knitter of mine, and she has a podcast, a very lovely podcast, by the way. And she also had some trouble pronouncing the name. But anyway, I wanted to explain the inspiration because it was really a big part of this sweater, and I wanted to keep the name, although it's a bit difficult. So one thing I wanted to talk about, which was a bit of a struggle for me, and I already noticed that it was a struggle in the beginning when I started doing this yoke, is the yarn. Although I really love the yarn and it was a big part of the inspiration for this sweater, it's not the best yarn. I think it shows off the pattern okay in person, but taking pictures of this was not easy. And because I want to sell the pattern, or at least spread the love of the pattern and get it out there, it was a problem because I really wanted to have some nice pictures, and I think it's very hard to photograph. You can see the bubbles, but the leaf pattern, it's getting a bit lost in the tweedy effect of this yarn and the little lighter colors. So I wanted to talk a little bit about yarn choice and getting to know what yarn works with what, and sometimes also abandoning ideas. And it's something I'm learning a lot as a designer, or in my journey to become a knitwear designer, is sometimes I have an idea for a yarn and I really want it to work, and I, like with this one, I just kept pushing through, but I should probably have chosen another yarn or made another sample, but it's really difficult for me to knit up another sweater when I have other ideas I really want to work on. It's something I'm learning. I also have another design I'm working on. I've been showing a couple of times, which is a shawl design where I'm using some Teeswater yarn. Teeswater is a sheep breed from Gregoria Fibers, and it's a beautiful yarn, but I'm afraid it's not really working with the idea I had. I still have to go back and work on that one. It's a bit on ice at the moment because I'm again feeling like the yarn is not the most appropriate to show the idea that I had. So that's one thing that's quite hard for me to and I really love the yarn and I really want to use it, and maybe I just have to accept that it should be something else, or maybe I will keep going, and but then again I have the problem for taking pictures of the finished objects. It's very difficult and something I definitely have to learn. I think I've learned a lot about what yarns, for example, not to use alpaca for a sweater if you don't want it to grow out of shape, and even though it's not always like that, but there's some things you should know, or what you use cotton for, what you use linen for, what you use wool for. Different spinning techniques will give different fabrics and so on. There are a lot of things to keep in mind when you're deciding on what yarn to use. And for this pattern, I've seen other people use Tweedy yarns as wooden nest. I can put a picture here. Lindsay used a Tweedy yarn from Brooklyn Tweed, but it's less tweedy than this one and actually shows off the pattern quite well. There are other people who used, for example, one of my testers used Tuku wool. Pavey, I have no idea how you say your name, but there it is, it's Finnish. Again, a lot of names, a lot of things. I love that we have this big community, international community, but it can be challenging when you're trying to do a podcast. She used Tuku wool and it worked beautifully. Amber, she used, Quinton Co, and that worked very well. And it's just to say, and I have a post on Instagram where I show a few more, I think. And it's just to say that the yarn choice is very important when you want to show off, for example, this particular style of pattern that has some, you have to have a yarn with some good stitch definition. But also I think for this one, to avoid little holes, it's good that it's a lofty yarn that kind of fills out the little gaps that might be. So if you use like a sock yarn, something like that, you might experience some more visible holes. Perhaps, I mean, a swatch would be the best way to figure it out. What else? So picking the right yarn is a learning curve, and if you feel like it's difficult, I totally get you because it's very difficult. You might fall in love with a yarn and it's just not the right one for the project. I'm trying to be a lot more mindful of what yarn I pick for projects and really be careful. Like with this Uist yarn, I have been thinking and I've been really careful. I tried another design first on my swatch, which I ripped back, so you cannot see it anymore, but it didn't work. It was some twisted stitches doing some like cable work, and it didn't look nice in this yarn. So it's really important to swatch first of all to be sure that the yarn you want to use works, and then also think about the colors, because for example a really dark color, I don't think it would work, but it wouldn't show up the pattern as well as you want. Again, as I said, Lindsay from the Wooden Nest, she used a dark burgundy and it actually worked. So everything you have to, the rules are there to be broken. I mean, rules are just a guideline, and you always have to be critical, because yeah, maybe a white would also have the same problem. It's not that easy to so swatch is really your best friend. That's what I'm trying to say when you want to know if something works out. Yeah, and just wanted to end off by saying I've been really happy with I got some really sweet comments about this one, and it's been lovely to publish it and see that others like it as much as I did, and I had a lot of fun designing it and imagining it and figuring out this stitch, and I just love seeing, I'm so excited to see the versions popping up soon. So yeah, and you can find the design on my Ravelry page, which is Fiber Tales. You can find a Ravelry group, which is Fiber Tales. So if you have any questions, you can ask them in there as well. There's a question thread. I have a knit dance cal going on together with Ida from Volapük. Sorry if I sometimes forget to say that, Ida. We are hosting it together. She is, I'm in charge of the Ravelry part, where there's a finished object thread that I just opened. So please put your finished object in there, and I will pick a winner from that thread. Ida will pick a winner from Instagram using the hashtag knitdancecal, and she will pick a winner and have a prize for the Instagram part. And yeah, you can join that one, for example, if you need one of my designs. So you only have to, I tried to make this as open as possible, so I decided to include all Danish yarn brands, which of course I know some yarn brands are really not that Danish when it comes down to it, in the way that they don't use Danish wool, which pretty much none of them do, I unfortunately figured out. And they also don't use, they are sometimes not even produced in Denmark. But just to make it as open as I could, I decided to include all Danish brands, and I made a list in there, and you can see the list, and there's some comments and stuff about what is what. Indie dyers are also welcome if they're Danish, and then Danish designers. And for Danish designers, I didn't make a list. There are a lot of designers, so but there are some suggestions in the thread you can find. And sorry. Yeah, so that's the knit dance cal. You can find me also on Instagram. I'm Fiber Tales everywhere. And anything else I wanted to say? I think that's it. I think I talked for a long time again. I hope I will have an episode up soon again for you, so not this long wait in between. It was very lovely talking to you today, and I hope you had a wonderful holiday, and I hope you relaxed, no matter if you celebrate Easter or not. And I will see you all soon. Take care. Bye.